Today we are pleased that a young man who actually grew up in this country is so committed to the knowledge, the values, and the principles of Bharat development that he will come and talk to us. His topic is going to be the message from Mahabharata, which can utilize our own success in our day-to-day life situations. And Sri Ganesha, as you can see, he graduated from Wharton School of Business, which is the world's best business school. And in spite of that kind of a background, he has a very strong liking for it. And that's very hard for us to do, in spite of our younger generation, because the next generation is such keen interest in the great areas. We come from a very learned family from India. And actually there's a YouTube channel as well. It's called Sanatana Guru 108, where the small reels where he gives them brief snippets about this. So I'm not going to take too much of his time, and I would, at this point, let's proceed and share his wisdom with us.
Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om Om Gananam Tva Ganapatikam Avamahe Kavim Kavina Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspada Anashrinvam Nodipisi Nazadanam Om Shri Mahaganapadaya Namaha. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. I am Sugandh Kannan, South Indian Brahmin from Western. I have chanted this shloka in order to invoke Lord Ganesha. He is the remover of all the obstacles. The meaning of this shloka is Lord Ganesha is the most knowledgeable God, and as the leader of the Shiva Ganas, I pray for him to be among us and grant his blessings. Today's topic is strategic message from Mahabharata. Lord Brahma, the most learned Brahmin in the entire universe, instructed Sri Maharishi Krishna Dvaipayana, the most learned Brahmin of the Dwapar Yuga, to narrate the Mahabharata Katha. Krishna Dvaipayana is also known as Veda Vyasa because he took the Vedas that were given to mankind by the gods and separated into four, and organized it into four Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharvana Veda. Veda Vyasa humbly requested Lord Ganesha to please transcribe the Mahabharata so that future generations of Sanatana Dharma followers like you all can read, learn, and understand the strategic principles and apply them in your schooling, education, family, career, business, and retirement. Lord Ganesha agreed to Veda Vyasa's request, but he put forth one condition: that once he begins writing the Mahabharata Katha, he will not pause. Veda Vyasa accepted Ganesha's condition, but he put forth his own counter condition: that Lord Ganesha has to understand every shloka before he writes it down. Now, the purpose of Lord Ganesha's condition is As you all know, any puja we do for any Ishta Devata or Kula Devata, we always do pranam and prayer by doing Ganesha puja first. So Lord Ganesha has to cater to millions of devotees around the world. That means his time is valuable. So he put forth that condition so that the Mahabharata gets completed in a time efficient manner. The purpose of Veda Vyasa's counter condition is when he needs a break in order to take a sip of water or take a breath, he can introduce tougher shlokas in Sanskrit in the Mahabharata to give him the opportunity to do the same. Now, the strategy behind what the strategic lesson from Lord Ganesha's condition is when you take up a project in your school, an initiative in your company, or set forth to do a new investment in your business, you need to focus on that continuously in order to achieve success. The strategic message from Veda Vyasa's counter condition is when another party tries and set a condition for you, think carefully before agreeing, because before agreeing, you have the opportunity to ensure that you have the ability to deliver what they want you to deliver without hindering your own ability to do so. So, what is the meaning of strategy? Strategy is a series of actions taken in order to achieve a particular goal. Let me give you a good example. When devotees come to the mandir, some wives will tell their husband to park near the exit because their focus and goal is on their husband's good health. They want him to exercise by walking a few extra steps to the temple. Another group of devotees will park near the trees to reduce the conduction of heat into their vehicle so that after the prayer, the interior of their car remains relatively cool. Few devoted devotees will park close to the mandir so that they can reach and have divine darshan as soon as possible. And after prayer, they are okay with few extra minutes of travel through the parking lot traffic. So each party caters their strategy in order to achieve a particular goal. Now, I would like to take you all back to the good old days when you were glued to the television sets watching the Mahabharata serial on Doordarshan by singing the Mahabharata song. If you know and can sing, please join. अत श्री महाभारत कथा महाभारत कथा महाभारत कथा कथा है पुरुषार्थ की है स्वार्थ की परमार्थ की सारथी जिसके बने शिखे अधर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे। जो कुछ है संसार में, जो कुछ है संसार, इसी कथा में कह दिया वेद व्यास ने याद रखे हम आप सब कर्मों के परिणाम विदा ले रहे आज हम करते हुए सीख हम बीते युगों से नए युग का करे स्वागत, करे स्वागत, करे स्वागत, करे स्वागत। सदियों से भी पुरानी है ज्ञान की ये गंगा, है ज्ञान की ये गंगा, ऋषियों की अमर वाणी है ज्ञान की ये गंगा, ऋषियों की अमर वाणी। ये विश्व भारती है वीरों की आरती है नित नई पुरानी भारत की ये कहानी। महाभारत, महाभारत, ओ महाभारत। Glad I was able to take you back to the good old days of watching the serial on Doordarshan. So today's discourse will focus on the Shanti Parva, which is the 12th book of the Mahabharata. The events of the Shanti Parva take place after the Kurukshetra war. When peace prevails in Hastinapura, that is the best time for learned minds like Veda, Vyasa, Bhishma, Vidura and Krishna to transfer jewels of knowledge to the mind of Yudhishthira. So I have chosen 3 stories from the Shanti Parva. I will narrate them and discuss the strategic principles from the same. After the Kurukshetra war, King Yudhishthira is overcome with grief. and he announces that he plans on renouncing the kingdom that he has just won in the hard-fought war and take sannyas and live in the forest. Haven't we all felt that way one time or another, that after a hard-fought victory, what we have achieved isn't really worth the effort that we have put in or the sacrifices that we have had to make? In order to allay and calm these types of concerns and allay Yudhishthira's mind, Veda Vyasa narrates a story about two sage brothers, Sanka and Likita. Once upon a time, near the Bahuda river, lived Sanka and Likita. One time, Sanka had gone out and Likita visited his residence. Likita started, because he was hungry, he started plucking fruits from Sanka's garden and eating them. Soon Sanka returned and asked Likita where you got these fruits from, to which Likita replied, from your garden only. Sanka accused Likita of theft and instructed him to prostrate before King Sudyumna and request punishment for being a thief. When Likita went before King Sudyumna, Sudyumna partially pardoned him and then meted out the punishment whereby Likita's hands were cut. Likita then returned to Sanka and requested his brother's pardon. Sanka pardoned him and instructed him to go to and take a dip in the nearby Bahuda river and do the Brahma Yajnam, praying to gods, rishis and pitris. After completing the Brahma Yajnam, Likita's hands grew back and he returned back to his brother Sanka and asked him why he didn't pardon me in the beginning and had me go to King Sudyumna. To which Sanka replied, in any kingdom or any political unit, it is always the rule, it is always the dharma of the king as a Kshatriya to mete out punishment of his subjects. He says in Sanskrit, Veda Vyasa, Esha dharmaha kshatriyanam prajanam paripalanam, meaning that this is the duty of Kshatriyas, meting out punishment to keep their kingdom safe from crime. A perfect contemporary example of a leader who has imbibed this particular strategy in their modus operandi is Lee Kuan Yew, the founding Prime Minister of Singapore. Some of you remember, back in 1994, when American Michael Fay who was living in Singapore at the time, he committed some crimes, vandalizing cars and road signs. So Singaporean court convicted him, sentenced him to jail, but also the classic Singaporean punishment of caning on the buttocks. Now, President Bill Clinton, this became a diplomatic issue. So President Bill Clinton himself tried to request leniency, but Singaporean authorities did not budge, saying that the reason why our country is so safe is because of our strict laws and the application of the punishments from the same. Whereas in America, even police cars get vandalized. Lee Kuan Yew backed up his law minister, went on live TV and said that leniency may be the path that America chooses, but that is not the path that we choose. So the strategic lesson from this is, for people running businesses, it is important to ensure that you set appropriate rules and guidelines and procedures for your employees. And if they transgress, there should be swift repercussions. And for the parents in the audience, at a very young age, you should teach your children Sanatana Dharma principles. And if they transgress, there should be clear repercussions. Because if your household follows this, it may sound a little strict, but in the long run, it will become more peaceful and harmonious. And if all the households here today follow, the mandir will become more peaceful and harmonious. And this positive energy will spread to society at large. Now the second story. This is narrated by the respected Bhishma when he is on his arrowhead to King Yudhishthira. This one is particularly applicable to the youngsters. And I would like to thank Dr. Shekharji for bringing them here today. So the story is, once there was a shallow lake full of fish, in which there were 3 fish who were friends. One was a planner. He had presence of mind. He could escape out of any situation. And the third was a big procrastinator. I think everybody here knows which character their fish belongs to, right? That's good. For those who know, that itself is a big victory because you know which areas to work on. One day a group of fishermen came and they started to drain the lake so they could catch all the fish. And the first fish, observing this, told his 2 friends, look, it's time we leave this lake and find greener pastures. Let's swim through that river to the next lake. But the second and third fish, that's not in their character, right? You know, people say you cannot suddenly change somebody's character. So they were adamant about staying. And the first fish, in order to protect his own security, traveled to the other lake. Then the fisherman cast the net and caught a group of fish, in which the second and third fish ended up getting caught. As a practice, they would tie the fish to a string so they could dip it into the water to clean again. You know, back then they didn't have cleaning machines and hydroponics and agriculture and aquaponics. So when they did that, the second fish, with his presence of mind, he used his teeth and bit onto the string to give the impression to the fisherman that he has already been tied. When they dipped the fish in the water, he let go and he escaped. But the third fish, with no plan, no presence of mind, ended up getting caught. So what Bhishma is trying to teach us here, the strategic principle is, in order to become successful in life, you either need to have the ability to plan ahead, or you need to have the presence of mind to escape any tough situation. Do not procrastinate. And that is why it is important for the parents to enroll their children, to plan ahead and enroll their children in programs like Bala, so that at a young age they get good principles and in the long run they live as respectable citizens. And this principle has been followed in Sanatana Dharma from the very beginning. Parents, they would send between the ages of 6 and 8, they would do the Jandu or Upanayana ceremony and send their children to Veda Pathashala, because at a young age is when children grasp good principles because their mind is still developing and they retain them for the rest of their life. Now the third story. Once upon a time, there was a large banyan tree with many creepers, in which lived many birds, a mouse and a cat. One day, a hunter came and cast a net near the tree, and the cat got stuck in the net. The mouse, because its predator was stuck, started roaming around fearlessly, and even started plucking at the bait that the hunter had set. Suddenly, a mongoose came with the purpose of eating the cat, and an owl flew to one of the branches in the tree with the same goal. Now, the beauty of Mahabharata is all the principles and stories are interconnected. Because right now, in English they call it between a hard place and a rock. That's the situation of the mouse. So obviously, it couldn't have planned for this situation. It can happen at any time. It has to utilize the previous lesson I taught you all of having the presence of mind to escape from any situation. Mouse, it is always with Lord Ganesha, and through that it has grabbed a lot of intelligent principles. So that is why it is important for the youngsters to keep company of good peers, because they will take you to the next level, whether that be your education or your future career interests. The mouse, being an expert in Rajniti, cut a deal with the cat. you protect me and I will free you from the net. Observing this, the mongoose and the owl they left. Then the mouse it started nibbling at the ropes of the net. But it took its own sweet time. So the cat asked the mouse, "Why are you taking your own sweet time? Please hurry up." To which the mouse replied, "If I free you now, there is no guarantee that you won't eat me. So when the hunter comes in the morning, that is when I will cut the last rope, because at that time you will be focused on your own self-preservation from the hunter, not trying to eat me. That will give me enough time to escape into my hole." The hunter came in the morning, and in Hinduism, when you give a promise, it's very important to keep. So they asked for a promise. The mouse cut the last rope. Cat ran up the tree, and mouse ran into its hole at the bottom of the tree. And the hunter left dejected. Then the cat said, "Mouse, now we are friends, right? Why don't you come up to the tree and meet my family?" To which the mouse replied, "I'm quite satisfied and content where I am, because if I come up to the tree, there is no guarantee that you, your family, or your relatives won't eat me." So the strategic principle, and actually the mouse says in Sanskrit, "Mitram cha shatrutam iti kasminschit kala parye, shatruscha mitratam iti swarto hi balavattaraha." Meaning that a friend today may become a foe tomorrow, and a foe may become a friend depending on the situation and circumstances. So, the strategic principle that for those of you working in the corporate environment can learn is, do not burn any bridges in your organization or outside. Because your friend today may become your foe tomorrow, but day after day may again become your friend. A perfect example of this is the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. The company he founded, he appointed the board of directors, he essentially runs the company, right? But one day the board of directors kicked him out of the company. So now they are his foe. But then Apple started to struggle, they brought him back on, and he took Apple to the next level. So now I will shift to the Anushasana Parva. This is the 13th book in the Mahabharata, and I will discuss a strategic message in a beautiful dialogue between Goddess Parvati and Lord Shiva. And this occurs towards the end of the Vishnu Sahasranama. Parvati says, "Parvatyo vacha keno payena lakuna Vishnu nama sahasragam patyate pandite nityam srotamichamyaham prabhu." Meaning that in Kali Yuga, to chant entire Vishnu Sahasranam takes between half to 1 hour. And people are time pressed, especially in Kali Yuga. They drop off the kids, they pick them up again. They'll have an evening call with their boss. So lots of time pressure. So Parvati is asking Lord Shiva, in Kali Yuga, how can people receive the benefit of chanting the entire Vishnu Sahasranama in a time-sensitive manner? To which Lord Shiva replies, "Ishvaro vacha Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Rama Nama Varanana Om Namaiti." This means that Shiva is asking us to meditate on Shri Rama, and chanting the name Shri Rama even one time is equivalent to chanting the entire Vishnu Sahasranama. I hope you all understood how the Mahabharata teaches strategic principles in a superlative fashion, and that you will take the lessons from this discourse and apply them in your life. We are all blessed to be living in what is called the Sanatana Dharma Renaissance period, led ably by a respected Prime Minister of India, who, following his Kshatriya Dharma as a ruler, see, he understood the first lesson. He is carrying the Sanatana Amrita Kalasha with great devotion and care. Next month, January 2024, is the inauguration festivities of Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. In order to pray for the successful happenings of the Prana Pratishtana ceremony, I will sing a song and you all know, please join. Mangal Bhavana Mangal Hari Prabhu Sudasharat Ajara Bihari Sita Rama Charit Adhibhavan Madhura Saras Aruvati Madhara Puni puni kirane ho sune sunaye hiya ki pyas pujat nab chhaye I hope I was able to remind you again of the famous Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana serial, also aired on Doordarshan, and when you are all glued together with your families and friends watching the serial. So I would like to open up the floor for a brief question and answer period. If anybody has any questions, they can ask.
I wanted to ask you about the example you gave about the cat in the house, right? Like, you don't buy the bridges by, you cannot trust someone, your friend could be your enemy, your enemy could be your friend anytime, right?
Right.
So, that means the trust doesn't mean anything when, like, like if somebody is your friend, you have to put your trust in her or him, whoever it is, right? But if you keep that thought in your mind, oh, he or she could be your enemy anytime, so you cannot really build up your friendship, real friendship. Because you're always like worried about, oh, what is tomorrow, the friend will become my enemy. So what does the trust plays the role?
Right, that's a very nice question. So, that particular lesson, see in Mahabharata, even if you look at Bhishma's commentary on when to apply that, he says that you should apply that in settings where Rajniti, politics, strategy, politics, whatever you want to call it, is commonly utilized. Now, in other parts of the Mahabharata, it is very clear that Arjuna and Krishna are very close friends. In general, they don't play politics with each other. So, you should know when and where to apply these lessons. You shouldn't apply them all the time. But let me give you a scenario where in the Mahabharata it is said you need to apply this. So, long time ago, there was the Kuru kingdom, of course, headquartered in Hastinapur, but there was also a kingdom called Kanda, headed by Shakuni. Now, before the events of the major events of Mahabharata, see, this is the context where you need to apply because it's strategy that is being played between two kingdoms. And the word friendship and foe in that particular story is utilized in a symbolic context. So you can rephrase it as ally and enemy. name, or mitra or shatra. It doesn't mean friendship as a friendship bond. So, back to the Shakuni story. The ancestors of the Gurus had captured, Kshatriya Dharma, you fight, you win territory. So they followed that and they captured the Gandhar kingdom and they had imprisoned all of Shakuni's, he had many brothers and he also had a father. So they imprisoned him and they used to, when they were imprisoned, they would only give him, a few morsels of rice. So the king, being very sharp, came up with the plan that, if we keep doing like this, pretty soon all of us will pass away. So he made, together with, as a family, inside the prison, they came up with a strategy that Shakuni, who is the sharpest of all of them, will eat all the morsels of rice and the rest of them will pass away, and the bones will be made into the same dice that is thrown in the dice, in the famous dice game that precipitated the Kurukshetra war. Now coming to, then Shakuni gets released because he's not much of a political threat anymore, but he stays with his sister Gandhari, and that is the situation where the Kauravas needed to understand that even though Shakuni may be showing love for his sister Gandhari, from a political perspective, Shakuni is not a friend of the Kauravas or the Pandavas for that matter, because he is playing Rajniti by poisoning the mind of the Kauravas, specifically Duryodhana, and making him have enmity with the Pandavas. And many people know this. In fact, in the Mahabharata serial, this is discussed briefly. But Bhishma, Drona, Vidura, they don't do too much because Dhritarashtra doesn't push the issue too much out of love for his wife and his in-laws. But in those types of situations where politicking is happening, like in business, like in your career, where it is very clear that your interests may not be aligned with the other party's interests, like the cat and mouse story. The cat and mouse are natural enemies. That is where you need to apply that particular lesson. You shouldn't apply it in your communal friendships. Any other question?
So you gave the example of the fish, and the two fish that escaped. One was a planner, and one could escape out of any solution because they had presence of mind. What are some ways we can better our presence of mind?
Right. That is always the challenge. Having presence of mind. The best way in order to learn anything is all the knowledge about how to deal with different situations is found in our Puranas. Now, typically, as a youngster, when you are taught the Ramayana or Mahabharata, you are given the outline of what events transpire, so you can develop basic understanding. But it is important to understand the minute stories that are present in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and that is the way that you will improve presence of mind, because you will learn how counterparties who are fighting against each other to achieve a particular goal, how they are positioning themselves and how they are acting. A perfect example of this is actually from the Ramayana. Hanumanji, one of the most powerful gods, he goes to Lanka, and this is commonly discussed, but there is a very important segment of that period where when he is in Ravana's, you call it darbar or court, and he teaches us the lesson of you should always speak when it is appropriate to speak and not speak when it is not appropriate to speak. So outside, when he was fighting with the Asuras and they tied him up, he didn't even say a single word. Because what is the use? But when he got into Ravana's court, he knew that I need to send a strong message. So that is another lesson you can take. When there is a situation where you need to fight for your rights, or you need to protect Sanatana Dharma, or any other issue for that matter, you should always speak up. Hanuman spins his tail, that builds a seat higher than the king. You know, that is actually in and of itself pretty insulting, because in Sanatana Dharma's principles, the king always occupies the highest post in a society. So when he spins the tail, he can simply say, "Oh, I am here on behalf of Rama. Please return Sita." Okay, all done, right? No, he doesn't do that. What he does, what he says is, if you are engaging in a word of wars with someone, he understands Ravana's history. Long time ago, Vali, he's so powerful that he had taken Ravana and tied him as, there's kids, they have this little rattles and things, right? So he had tied him in the baby cage of Angada for him to play with. So Ravana doesn't like the name Vali at all. When he hears Vali, he gets scared. So Hanuman opens his statement with the word Vali. I am here on behalf of Vali's brother Sugriva, representing Rama. And there itself, Ravana gets scared. So these types of stories, listening and learning to them, is what will develop your quick thinking and presence of mind. And I encourage you to come every Sunday. Shekhar Ji and Mrs. Jyoti, they organize beautiful lectures like this. So only by observing, learning and listening and then applying will you learn. And when you apply, there will be mistakes. That's okay. It's important to take a risk sometimes. And with that, I would like to, back to the Ram Mandir briefly, before we close, I would like to, it will be a perfect time next month to organize a spiritual tour to Ayodhya. If anyone wants to come forward and organize a trip, I would love to be on the tour as a guide, giving Vedic-based explanations, so devotees can cherish in the moment. If you have any other questions about Sanatana Dharma or principles on how you can apply in your education, life, business or career, please contact me. Note down my number. It's 954-999-3271. That's 954-999-3271. If any of you wish for me to speak and give presentation at your family functions or gatherings, please contact me. I customize my presentation to the function at hand, and I do this as a hobby, traveling around the country. And the attendees of the function will have a good time, cherish the moment, carry good memories, and improve the bond with the host, and also leave with a deeper understanding of the function that they are celebrating. With that, I would like to thank Dr. Shekhar Ji, Mrs. Jyoti, and the South Florida Hindu Temple for bringing us all together today under the Sanatana umbrella. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
What an incredible morning. I don't know about you, but I'm really touched deep in my heart. Sugandhi is only 24 years old. I said it before. She graduated from the world's best business school, Wharton. So you can understand how much time consuming that is. And in spite of that, how he has been able to strategize his time, I will use the word strategy, and learn so much about the story and background of Sanatana Dharma that I can safely say many of us also don't know. And Allah older than him. Sugandhi, you are here today as a role model. I want our young children to know that Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the epics are not archaic. They are the stories of the past. They're living guidances for this generation, and for all generations to come, for the entire humanity. And I'm not a bigoted person. If this world has ever survived, it can only survive by following the principles of Dharma that addresses all situations, how humans evolve and spiritual beings should. People will not be fighting the Senate war that you see all over the place. And Sri Ram, who was the Vyasa, who set up the stage, his whole life is a guidance for all of us. But it's especially important that a young person like him, because if we talk, they say, oh yeah, we won't get all this talk about it. But when a young person brings it on, it's highly, highly motivating and instructional. So my students now you know that it's not something old and archaic. You can learn a lot from our scriptures. He actually, as you mentioned yourself, he does consulting for real estate and healthcare corporations, but teaches them strategy based on the principles of Shanti Parva. What a wonderful, can you give a big round of applause? And we love you dearly, we're proud of you, and come back again. Thank you.
तेन करोमि ब्रह्मा आयुष्मत्तद्भ्रा अम्मणैरायुष्मस्तेन स्वा आयुष्मन्तं करोमि देवा आयुष्मन्तस्ते अमृतेन आयुष्मन्तस्ते तेन स्वायुगायुष्मन्तं करोमि सदमानं भवति सदा जगत्पुरुषप्रदेन्द्रिय आयुष्येवेन्द्रिये प्रतिष्ठते सत्यकृपा सर्वनः स्वन्तनाम्नः अस्य सकल सौभाग्य आरोग्य भाग्यदा सिद्धिरस्तो सर्वाभीष्ट सिद्धिरस्तो It's a very excellent discourse.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. I think his name, parents, you have put his perfect name, Sagan. And but as I told you earlier, Sugan is nothing but aroma. So this young man, I'm sure, is going to...
Aroma of the Satya.
Aroma of the Satya Kripa. So, perfect name for this young man. And there's so many other things also he's mastered at it. Singing, I think he won the Indian Idol of Florida. He was a champion there. And also, he's a chess master. And I told him we should have a game one day. I know he's going to beat me, but I can say I was beaten by a best person. And
Especially designed DNA.
So he was one of the top 100 chess players in the United States in his age category.
Just 24.
So I think he's not just a singer and a chess player, everything he's a master at.
It's a special person.
So all I can say to your parents, I tell you, to give them a great foundation. With a great foundation comes a great future.
Yeah.
Just got a young
We're
man,
Asada our Sanatan. That's it.
great future ahead. So once again, thank you. Actually, he sent an email to me for different. He wanted to come for a Navjeevan program to give a lecture for the seniors. So which I said, I think I'll speak to Jyoti ji. We can also arrange for you to come and speak, not to just the youngsters, but also to the Navjeevan group.